All right, and greetings and welcome, my friend, back to my video series on fitness made a heck of a lot simpler and a lot easier. Today's episode, we are covering three and a half basic strategies that are going to go a long way at helping you curate your mental fitness. The mind is a key component in any fitness program. And the big mistake we often make is thinking, well, what's the big deal? I just work my muscles and I eat the right nutrients and I have a good diet and boom, I'm healthy. But the fact is that it's damn near impossible to build the body you want when you're always fighting your mental state, your emotional state, the thoughts and things that are going around on the little rat on the wheel. So if you're failing to curate and condition your mind, or even your emotional state as much as anything else, your physical attempts at conditioning your body are always going to be an uphill battle, which means you're always going to work 10 times harder for half of the results. Key thing here is, though, remember that many of these things are too simple for many people to take them seriously. I'm going to be recommending these things and saying they're going to change your life because, in all honesty, they really can, especially if they really help you deal with a lot of the stuff going on upstairs. But most people are never going to take this stuff seriously because it's not extreme. It's not fancy. It doesn't sound like it's this big deal. And remember that in order for things to work, we have to be able to do them on a consistent basis. And if they're really big, fancy, and extreme, well, good luck with that. So the first strategy that I highly recommend you practice is the one that I'm doing right at this very moment, which is simply going for a walk. Now, I know it's a very simple, mundane, okay, going for a regular constitutional can't seem to be that big a deal, and that's the point, is because you're right, it's not. But it does more for mind and body than people realize. I've been coaching folks for over 20 years now, and without a doubt, the single biggest influence on whether or not people stay mentally sharp, healthy, and in many cases even lean, is if they have a regular walking routine in their program. People who walk more just have a much easier time keeping weight off. And I know there's a lot out there. It's walking doesn't really burn all that many calories and your rate of calorie burn isn't that high when you're walking. And you're absolutely right. I'm not going to burn a whole lot of calories going out on this single walk. But here's the thing, is you're not going to burn a whole lot of calories doing anything. I can really push myself super hard on this walk, and it's still not really going to do much of anything else. And that's because remember that the number one factor in your ability to burn a substantial amount of fat and calories is just time. You need to have physical activity on a relatively frequent basis that doesn't beat you up. And when you really look at it on an economic standpoint, walking is by far the most efficient economic way to do it. You just go out and you walk around. Hopefully you live in an area where it's safe to do that. But that's why it's so powerful, is because it doesn't do a whole lot, but you can do a whole lot of it, which means that it will have compounding effects over time. And it's not just the physical benefits of things. It's also, of course, the mental benefits. Especially in this day and age, we are spending so much more time in front of screens, so much more time in chairs, in seated positions, and we're always inundated with information and things that are constantly coming towards us. And it's even harder than ever to just break away and get away from it all. We don't need to jaunt off to some sort of tropical island in order to get away. Sometimes we literally physically just need to get away from our devices, away from our work, away from other people, even if it's for 20 minutes. And that's why walking can be a great escape mentally, is to literally say, okay, life, time out. Everything, just leave me alone for a while. I'm going to go out and I'm going to walk around. I'm going to walk the neighborhood. I'm going to go for a simple little hike. I'm going to just get out, and then everything else can come back to me when I return. And because we get away, that also affords us the ability to mentally just digest all of that information and all of that mental and emotional stimulus that's bombarding us almost 24/7. It's almost even in our sleep, for heaven's sake. And because we never get away from it, it's kind of like we're constantly consuming information. And the thing we want to think about information is it's the same thing as like nutrition for our body. People who study nutrition understand that you technically don't actually consume food and nutrients when you eat it. You consume food and nutrients when you digest it. And the same is true for information, is that you don't consume it necessarily when you watch the videos or you read the books or anything. You do that when you digest the information. Problem is, we have so little opportunity these days to digest our information, to just get away from everything and say, hang on, let me think about this. Let me take a moment to really ruminate on it and just kind of sit with my thoughts for a little bit. And that's asking a lot these days, especially when we just can't stand to even sit at a red light or be by ourselves for any length of time without flipping out our cell phone and saying, okay, let me check Instagram and my messages and email and 100 other things. We're never giving ourselves the ability to digest our thoughts and the information coming to us. And it's no wonder we feel so overwhelmed. It's no wonder we're so stressed. And that in turn has a cyclical effect on our body, not just mentally. So when we literally just go for a walk, it gives us the opportunity to say, okay, let me think about this thing that happened at work today. Let me think and kind of ruminate about this thing that's going on. And you can start to put the pieces together mentally a little bit. It gives you problem solving ability. It helps you to mentally and emotionally digest what's going on. And usually, especially if I'm dealing with something, by the time I come back from a walk, I find I've either got the issues largely solved, or at least I have an idea of like, okay, tomorrow I'm going to talk to this person, or I've got a plan on how to deal it, rather than just keeping my mind distracted 24/7 and thinking, okay, I've got this thing, but I can't do anything about it. The other two strategies that can make a world of difference for you involve the written word, both reading it and writing it. Because when we access the part of our mind, when it comes to reading and writing, we're using our mind in a way that is very different than any other time, than if we're watching videos or listening to podcasts or even sitting in a lecture hall. True learning happens when we are consuming, particularly through a written format. And it doesn't even need to be like serious books like fiction and things like that. But even if you're reading on a regular basis, some sort of fantasy novels and stuff, that gives your mind such a break, a vacation from all of what's going on. Even if your mind is thinking up, of fantasy stories you're reading and stuff, it's still allowing your mind to relax and take a literal mental vacation that it wasn't getting any other way. This is something that I became aware of earlier this year when I started to read more books from recommendations from clients. They're like, oh, have you read The Hail Mary Project? And, oh, have you read this book by Stephen King or whatever? They weren't even serious books, but I noticed that the more I was reading, the more I was mentally sharp, the more I wasn't, stressed out about things a lot. So I've made it a practice to always have a book to read, to always have something that my mind is kind of following on some sort of a story or a tale. And it's made a hell of a difference in just mental well-being. So that's the reading of the written word. Then you have writing. And writing, as we're going to see in the next video on the power of self-coaching, any sort of journal, any sort of practice where you write down what you're doing and you ruminate on what's going on can unlock unbelievable power of problem solving for everything you're working on. I mean, it's crazy. You can take something that has been vexing you for years and you write down and you start figuring out on a journal, and you can literally be like, oh, I never thought about it that way. And you start to solve it in 15 minutes of journaling. When you journal, you literally become your own personal therapist. Not to say that that's a replacement for actual real professional therapy or anything, which I have gone through, and I highly recommend it if you're dealing with some demons from, in your mind. But when it comes to journaling and writing things out of like, what's going on? What are you thinking about? What are you glad happened today? What are you grateful for? What are you dealing with? Those simple actions of just writing that out does so much for your mental well-being and your ability to make a plan for making your life better. And that has many domino effects that just go down, not only affecting your mental and emotional health, but also your physical health as well. And the best thing about all three of these strategies is you don't need to do them a lot in order to make it work. You don't need to go for a 3-hour hike. You don't have to write pages of journals, and you don't have to read the complete works of William Shakespeare every weekend. Even 10 to 15 minutes of each of these on a daily or even semi-daily basis will do wonders for your mental well-being and your ability to problem solve, to unload a lot of stress that you're carrying around with you, to just physically get things moving around and feel like you're basically getting a physical energy out, and to take those mental vacations that we all so desperately need these days. And not only does this stuff compound over time, but it also gives you the ability to have each one building up other areas of your life. So it helps with relationships, it helps with your fitness, it helps with work and everything else. Because ultimately, health and well-being is not just about lower blood pressure and lower body fat and stronger muscles. It's about living a better quality of life in general. And writing, reading, and getting out for just regular recreational walks are the easiest ways for making that happen. All right, I'll see you in the next video series where I talk about the strategies that I use for personal self-coaching that can help you unlock a ton of your own hidden potential in your diet and exercise habits. See you there. Be fit and live free.